Tune in. Time for the trivalent understanding noetics. Okay. 8th class in the trivalent understanding noetics. This is going to tune you all in. And the topic of today's class is sexuality. Okay, but before we do that, everybody feet flat on the ground. Hold your head up at 45 degrees. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. Another deep breath in. Let out more than you took in. Last cleansing breath in and out. Now visualize these images as you repeat after me. I will live in the light.
I will live in the light.
Warmed by truth and embraced by grace.
Warmed by truth and embraced by grace.
I will remain a defender of the symbols of life.
I will remain a defender of the symbols of life.
I will eliminate evil.
I will eliminate evil.
Evil is the shadow of lies.
Evil is the shadow of lies
that seeks to blot the illumination
that seeks to blot the illumination
of the human spirit. Evil cannot grow in my life.
Evil cannot grow in my life
unless it is cultivated by hate, watered by the clouds of guilt and shame, and fertilized by the fetid fowl. Failed fruits of fear. Such as envy, greed, jealousy, fear of lack, fear of truth, fear of pain, fear of death, or the worst fear of all, fear of fear itself. As I eliminate fear, guilt, shame, and hate, the light of my spirit will grow brighter and brighter. Unconsciously giving permission for all around me to do the same. Ashe. Thank you so much. The power of that affirmation cannot be overestimated. It gives you a starting point from which to receive these differences, these unique views and paradigms of humanity. We have been taught those views of humanity by people who did not people who did not understand or learn their humanity. This is pink people, Europeans. They understood that most knowledge came from El Kebulon. Just about all knowledge that humans have came from El Kebulon. They were not El Kebulonese, so they wanted to downgrade everything that was El Kebulonese. As a result, all of the knowledges of humanity's initial presence on this planet, growth from that initial planet, and all the things that they have been learned have been disregarded or eliminated. Our job, my purpose is to give that back, to give that humanity back, primarily to pink people, so that the rest of us can benefit from that. Me teaching what our history is and the history of humankind to our people won't do very much. What will do very much is teaching these same things to the people who lack the humanity that we're trying to teach people. Okay. I must give you some explanation because I'm dressed like this. I'm dressed like Dr. Woods. Every once in a while, I have to do that. It's a Sunday. And sometimes I have to dress on a Sunday like Dr. Woods. That's what I've done. Now I'm taking it off. So I can dress more like Baba Amwa. Okay. Especially because we're talking about sexuality. We're talking about getting down. We're talking about getting real. We're talking about getting all the way. No, I'm going to stop. But we are here to talk about sexuality. Now, what's sexuality? Sexuality is the sexual nature of our beingness. Okay? It's a portion of our humanity that to the largest degree has been totally and completely ignored by pink people. The first books on sexuality in European culture was not written until, if I'm not mistaken, 1964. Think about that. 1964. These people have been in charge of basically the civilizations on this planet since about the year 0. And in that 2,000 some odd hundred years, they have never written any particular educational propositions for humanity about sexuality. First written Masters and Johnson studies, which, believe it or not, came out of a university about 3.5 blocks from where I lived in St. Louis, Washington University. Masters and Johnson wrote the first books on sexuality, on human sexuality in English for Americans.
Did Dr. Colangelo help with that?
No, Dr. K didn't help with that.
Okay.
But he was at the university where it took place. Believe it or not, my sister Rosella actually took part in some of that. WashU was where she got her master's in education from. After that, Helen Gurley Brown, Sex and the Single Female. That was about 74. Oh, all this is relatively recent. All less than 50 years ago. The vast majority of it less than 25 years ago. Again, Europeans have never been into spreading knowledge. Never. Let me say it again. Never. Whatever knowledge they did have that was available was held secret and held in reserve for only those individuals that were deemed worthy. And these were primarily those who spoke for or were part of the Roman Catholic Church. We come back to them a lot, don't we? Okay, that's because Rome never fell. I've been reading and watching videos on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. It never happened. The Roman Empire never fell. It just flipped the script and changed their name to the Roman Catholic Church. The largest organization in the world, the richest organization in the world, the organization that has the most property in the world, the organization that is most materialistic in the world, the organization that has caused more death and suffering in the world, the organization that has caused more ignorance and sustained more ignorance than any other organization in the world. Okay. Why do they do that? Because as long as people are ignorant, then they will believe what you tell them. That's it. Nothing else. But especially sexuality was held in great secret throughout most of European civilization, because sexuality was something that females primarily controlled. Now, I say primarily because it was not uncommon at all for rape to occur. Just stranger rape, acquaintance rape, even familial rape. It was an impossibility in most of the history of Europe to have a daughter charge her father, brother, uncle, cousin, or anybody else with rape or incest. That was not something that happened Why? Because, as I've told you before, females were property. They belonged to people. And if you were a female, you belonged to the male head of your household, generally your father. And he could do whatever he wanted to with you. Whatever he wanted to do with you. It was not uncommon for people to sell their children to strangers for whatever purpose that stranger wanted. Don't believe me? Read who's the guy that wrote Charles Dickens? Charles Dickens. Read Christmas Carol, or read Oliver Twist, or read Great Expectations, or read any of the books that talked about England in the Middle Ages. It was not uncommon at all to be going through the market and hear some guy saying, girl for sale, boy for sale. That was their children that they were selling. When our ancestors first came to America, we were shocked that Europeans would separate families. I don't know why. Oh, on second thought, I do know why. It's because we didn't know the history. They had always sold their children. Sometimes they ate them. And I'm not talking about sexuality now. I'm talking about gourmet dish, leg of child. These were things that were part of their history that we really didn't know. And they tried to keep it really, really on the down low. Real low. Again, one of the reasons for promoting ignorance. People never liked their history, and they didn't want anybody else to like it either, because it was a history full of, let's just simply say, bad things. Sexuality was one of the things that was a bad thing because of how it was used. Females were always accused of sexual intimidation or sexual invitation. If a man raped a woman, it was her fault. If a child was incestually raped, it was her fault. Desire in men was blamed on females. Really? Yeah. And that continued up until now, right this second. We had a guy, I think his name was Kavanaugh, that was just elected to the highest office in the land for judges, and he was a judge, after he had been accused by many, I'm trying to get the right many females of sexually assaulting, abusing, and attempted rape. He was elected to that office, the highest office in the land, by a panel of almost all pink males who didn't think that rape, attempted rape, sexual assault, or any of the things that this man was accused of should stop him from being judge in the highest court in America. Now, that don't tell you something about how these people view sexuality? Now, the problem is that view is what we've been given. That view of sexuality is what we have to deal with. Because that is the view of sexuality of the wider and broader culture that we live in. Sexuality has been removed from a trivalent experience, and it has been instead incorporated into a physical act. Now, let me explain that just a little bit more. A trivalent ideology, a trivalent paradigm, is trivalent because it takes into account your spirit, your mind, and your body. As we have established before, the most powerful one of them is your spirit. The weakest one of them, pardon the finger, is your body. Okay? And sexuality has been removed from trivalency to just your body. Now, illustration. Look at any rap video. Look at any music video. Look at any movie, television program, advertisement. It is touting generally physical sexuality. It shows you sexuality without any mind, without any spirit, just a body. And that's what we are raised on. We are raised on the physical act of intercourse, when we are totally and completely ignoring the fact that sexuality is not simply about your body. Now, don't believe me? Ask about 70% of American females who responded to Helen Gurley Brown's Sex and the American Female. That's the approximate percentage who said they were dissatisfied with sex. They never came. Oh, I'm gonna use words like dick and pussy and came and all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. This is for adults. Get all the children out of the room. But these dissatisfied females were primarily dissatisfied for two reasons. Number one, there was not enough foreplay. Number two, it seemed that the physical act was just simply that, a physical act. It was over in less than 160 seconds, and it left them emotionally and spiritually and physically dissatisfied. This is not my opinion. This is what I have gleaned from the writings, from the research, and from the fact that I got 9 sisters. And they've been talking to me since I was born, though they didn't know it. Because often at night, when we went to bed, you gotta visualize Evelyn, Betty, Carlene, Arcelia, Rosella, whose real name is Myrtle, Sheila, and my younger sisters when they got to the point of being able to talk outspokenly, Kathy and Karen. Okay, that's about 8 females in a house. This house is settling down to sleep. Everybody has gone to bed. When they get in bed, you have the older girl's bed, the younger girl's bed, and the boy's bed. The boy's bed's in a little, like, gangway. But the older girls get in bed, and as soon as they get in bed, they start talking. They talk about their day. They talk about their wishes. They talk about their fears. They talk about their lives. And I am a young male listening to all of this. And I listened to all of this until I left the house, about 14, 15 years old. This is my every night. My every night is listening to all the females talk about being a female and living in this world. In addition to which, when I did get back to this country, March of 70, April, May, June, July, August, 5 months later, I entered a profession of nursing that was, of course, dominated by females. I went to a nursing school, 312 women. You think 8 to 1 was bad? How about 312 to about 10? That's the percentage of females versus male in St. Louis Municipal School of Nursing, formerly Homer G. Phillips School of Nursing in St. Louis, Missouri. So I got more, much, much, much more than just a bird's eye view of how females see their lives. Okay, so let's get back to the specific topic that we're discussing, sexuality. Sexuality, like all endeavors of humanity, should be trivalent. Sexuality should involve your spirit, first and foremost, your mind, and last, but definitely not least, your body. Okay? Let's take those in reverse order. Your body. Your body should be prepared for sexuality. Your body should be ready for sexuality. Your body should be somewhat eager for sexuality. Otherwise, your body is kind of left behind, and I really mean that behind. I ain't talking about this behind that I kind of like. All Elkebulanese men do. I'm talking about left behind as in not brought to where it needs to be. Okay, let's move on. Your mind. Your mind is probably the most essential part to successful sexuality, because your mind not only has to be in the right place and has to be prepared like your body, your mind actually leads you through sexuality. If your mind is not on that, you're thinking about the bills I gotta pay, oh, how am I do that? No, this and so on. You someplace totally and completely different, and your body will follow you there. The mind is made up, as I've told you before, of two specific parts that do two specific jobs. One specific job is thinking. That involves comparing and organizing and other things like that. Another specific job is feeling emotionally. Okay? Those are the two major jobs of your mind. And in sexuality, one of them needs to be turned on and dialed way up. And the other one needs to be turned off or dialed way the hell down. I'll give you a guess. Which one needs to be up? Thinking? Just parts of your mind. Thinking or feeling? Okay, stop. Okay, I just asked several Elkebulanese American females where their mind needs to be for sexuality, and they didn't know. You came up with the right answer after you sat there for a minute and thought with it. She came up with the right answer after wait a minute, hold on, mine. Okay, well, oh, yeah, feeling. Now, do you think it should have taken you that long to come up with it? It shows where your sex life is. Okay. Obviously, the feeling part of your mind needs to be turned way up, and the thinking part of your mind needs to be turned way down or off. Because this activity, sexuality, is not about thinking. It's about feeling. And it is those feelings that make sex either satisfactory or unsatisfactory, good or bad, erotic or nasty. Okay. Feeling. What in your mind? Number one, sexual. Number two, desirable. Number three, desirous. You want something. You want something. You want, depending on you, intimacy, closeness, physical release, climax, coming. Okay. A joining of more than your body. Okay? Before the Roman Catholic Church put their spin on sexuality, the very aspect of the feelings that occur when you engage in sex were deified. Let me explain what I mean. Many religions use sexual activity as a part of their worship. They were, okay. Sorry about that. But many religions before the Roman Catholic Church, and some at some great length after them, use sexual activity as a part of their religious worship because they reasoned rightly that when you engage in sexual activity properly, you will leave the reality that you normally inhabit. When you engage in sexual activity properly, your normal reality goes away. You have heard expressions like, the earth moved, and I went to outer space, or something that reveals an image of you not being the normal you that you used to being, and not being in the normal place where you used to be. Your spirit and your mind go someplace else. And that someplace else feels good. Oh my goodness. It feels so excruciatingly good that it has often been associated with touching God. Mithros. That's a religion, the worship of Mithros, was something that most of the Romans did before they adopted Christianity. It had sexual activity as a part of its worship. The Romans took a large amount of their culture from the Greeks. The Greeks had lots of different positions in their religious worship that was all about sexuality. They had a cult, I guess you could call it. It was a group of people who were called Vestal Virgins. Don't let the name fool you. A Vestal Virgin's job was to have sex with anybody who wanted to. And whoever they had sex with was supposed to pay them according to whatever they wanted to pay them. If they wanted to give them a penny, they gave them a penny. If they wanted to give them an apple, they gave them an apple. If they wanted to give them absolutely nothing, they gave them nothing. And the Vestal Virgin's job was to be not just satisfied, be grateful for the opportunity to give this type of pleasure and spiritual experience to anyone who wanted it. Okay. We've talked about your body, we've talked about your mind, let's get to your spirit. How is your spirit involved in sexuality? Well, as I've told you on many occasions, your spirit primarily does three different types of operations. It does protective operations, it does enabling operations, and it does visualization operations. All of those are involved in sexuality. Your spirit enables you to have sex because your spirit gives you images that you send to your mind about what this sexual act is going to embody for you. You have images of sexuality based on your training, your education, your life experience, any negative or criminal effects you have had from sexuality. All of that stuff plays in the images that come into your spirit whenever you think about sexuality, let alone engage in it. These images should be enabling. Simple. These images should be enlightening. These images should be something that you not only want, but at least feel on some level that you need. And these images should be something that your sexual partner invokes, utilizes, assists, and enables. Now, believe it or not, often this is simply done by conversation, both before, I'm looking at my wife and we're both before, during, and after sex. Before sex, the images you will stir up in your partner have to do with the anticipation of what the experience is going to mean for you. A lot of this is done by referring to prior experiences or, on occasions, experiences that you've never had that you want to. During sexuality, and this is where most people, especially males, fail. During sexuality, how often does your mate talk to you about what you're doing? How often does your mate give you images of where you are going and how you're getting there? You don't say nothing. You don't say nothing. That's my wife. And she can't comment on this section of the class. But these things make the sexual experience a totally different thing. Last but not least, and I say definitely not least, because Helen Gurley Brown's study showed that most females had the biggest problem with two areas of sexuality. I said before sex, leading up to sex, the build up to sex, commonly called foreplay, and believe it or not, after sex. They had huge complaints with what males do, and females, after sex. Rolling over and going to sleep with snoring is not a good thing. Saying I need a cigarette and getting up and leaving is not a good thing. Most people, and this is males and females, like to enjoy what's called the afterglow. After a successful sexual experience, you are bathed in a warmth and comfort that you can't get no other way. I just got to tell you like that. And then I got to back up off saying that. Because there are several trivalent techniques that you learn, and you can see my wife's face now. There are several. There are several different techniques that you learn in the trivalent understanding that come closest that I have ever experienced to the feeling of sexual climax. Believe me, total body vectoring under the right circumstances, oh my frickin' God. And I guarantee my children have, heard my wife going, oh my God, oh Lord. And we weren't having sex. We were doing some trivalent tool usage. Total body vectoring being just one of several. But other than that, the sexual climax, you want to lay around, roll in, wrap up in you, eat a full meal of, and totally consume. And that is aided by what your partner says after you come. Does your partner give you the feeling of accomplishment and purpose that you're supposed to get? Does your partner give you the sense of togetherness and oneness that this is meant to provide? Does your partner discuss with you how wonderful the experience was, and specifically how the both of you together created something neither one of you could do alone? Now I'm seeing my student over here going, because she's thinking deep on this stuff. All females do, and especially American females, because they have never been exposed to this. They have never thought about this. They have never had these images placed in their spirit. Yeah, they don't. No, they are. And that's why I feel yada, yada, yada. I didn't know that that's why I was. That's where you're supposed to be at this time. Okay. What is sex supposed to be like? I have taught you and explained to you a whole lot of things that need to be there. What's it like when it's all there? What's it like? Approximately August of 1975, I'm graduated from nursing school. I am working in Homer G. Phillips Hospital emergency room on night shift. I get off at 7 in the morning. I'm staying in the nurse's dorm, which is right in back at the hospital. I go there one morning. I'm not sleepy or tired. You normally aren't after you work 8 hours in any emergency room. You are so hyped with what you've been doing. You can't go to sleep if you try. So I went and meditated. And after meditation, I decided to go and investigate areas of my brain. Now, just a quick aside. It had always been somewhat puzzling and frustrating to me that human beings were told that we are different than every other animal on this planet. And the reason that we are different is because of this, the way we think. Now, other than the fact that that's a lie, I think sea mammals, whales, porpoises, dolphins, seals, have much better brains than we do and use them much more effectively. And even have parts of their brain we don't even have parts of. For instance, a whale has two big, huge frontal lobes in front of their frontal lobe we don't even have. This is where your connection to the Most High is supposed to be for your higher thinking and higher powers. Sea mammals have those and human beings do not. And we act like we do not. We destroy more than we create. And we have no empathy for not only other life forms, we don't have any empathy for other human beings. But let's get away from that. We're supposed to be different because of our brains, our minds, and how we use them. But we are never taught how to use that brain. We are never taught, where do you think from? Where do you see at? What part of your brain do you use to talk at? What part of your brain do you use to understand with? What part of your brain, again, this is pink people. They don't want to teach anything that frees the civilization from their control. But me being strange, these things have always interested me. And I have always been exploring my brain to figure out where the areas that control my being are and how to access them. That's what I was doing this day. I was in the day room. I had just finished meditating, and I was playing around inside my brain. I was going to different areas of my brain with my spirit and making that particular area that I was on brighter. I was envisioning a color, purple, and I was making that color brighter in those areas. I bring all this up because I went to some place in my midbrain, in the limbic system, and I made that area brighter. And suddenly, I felt such pleasure I have never, ever experienced before or since. It was pleasure so intense that it became painful, and I had to stop that. I didn't want to feel that. It was, you talking about coming times 100? This was coming times 1,000,000. And I mean that. It was so intensely pleasurable that it was just that intensely uncomfortable. That feeling dimmed when I took my attention to another part of my brain, but never went away. It faded, 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 faded over a period of weeks to months. I'm saying that because that is my personal experience. And as I told you initially, your sexual appearance, your sexual experience will relate to a large degree on your prior experiences. That was one of my prior experiences. So I got to measure every sexual experience by that. What is trivalent sex supposed to be like? It's supposed to be about 1/10 of that. And it's supposed to start with your mate giving you images of the sexual experience that you are going to take part in. This should be followed up by both emotional and physical foreplay. I'm very oral. God bless me. So a lot of my foreplay has to do with kissing. I'm a pretty good kisser. Got to take care of the tools. But kissing various parts of the body is just one of the physical preparations. Of course, caressing, stroking, and believe it or not, and this is going to sound strange, I'm stuck between two different words, patting or spanking different parts of the body. Not hard, just enough to bring the sensations of that area to the forefront. And generally after you pat or spank or slap, you want to do something else like caress or kiss or tongue. Yes, baby. My wife is sweating over there. She is sweating right now. She is. These are memories.
Preparation.
Preparation. This is preparation. Then there should be a continual emotional, spiritual support of what you're going to be doing as preparation for doing it.
Message is received from Tootie's new hash.
Okay, Tootie.
Message is research the Tiny Titan of the Browns John Madden game.
Okay, the Tiny Titan of the Browns Madden game. It's my nephew. He does stuff like that to me. Okay. The spiritual and emotional preparation should include both images and reassuring, soothing, emotional terms. They should be uplifting, they should be gratifying, and they should also be enlarging. The last aspect of that should be about your being. It should enlarge your being physically, spiritually, and emotionally. It should uplift you. It should prepare you for the activities emotionally that you're about to go through. And part of that is painting some images of what you're about to be going through. Last but not least, after you engage in sexual activity for a minimum of a half hour, that's just me, you should climax at least once, twice, 3, 4 times. Yeah, right, okay, I'm just checking. After that, and the culmination of your sexual experience, should come the afterglow appreciation, in which you hold each other, you support each other, you affirm each other, and you reinitiate the pair bond. It's y'all two. against whatever. And when it's y'all two against whatever, y'all gonna win. Now, any questions at this point? No? Okay. And I wish now to refer to a book. It is called African Holistic Health by Layla O. Africa. Really, really, really good brother. Met him on several occasions. But he has some things about African-centered sexuality. That's rather different and unique. He says, for instance, there are types of sexual personality. Okay. In male and female sexual relationship, each individual bring their emotional vocabulary. Emotions influence sexual likes and dislikes. This is what I told y'all before. Sexual likes and dislikes are determined by your genetic code, your parents, your sexual experience, culture, emotional sexual wounds, spirituality, dysfunctions, physical structure, and personality. They go on to describe different specific types. Type 1, the warrior, or challenge sexually. Now, believe it or not, they give astronomical reasons for these types and characteristics. They go by your birthday. Type 1, birthday between March 22nd and May 12th. I was born March 29th. I'm an Aries with Aquarius rising. Warriors like sex to be a struggle, sport, or a psychological game of chess, mind game. They tend to find sexual delight in hunter and prey scenarios, or the now you can have sex and now you can't have sex. Sexual rejection is a challenge to the romantic tactics and merely arouses them more. Warriors want to sexually outperform their sex partners. These females are passionately sensual more than nurturing. Warrior females, as females born between those dates, have a need for material security. The more security, the more sexy they are. They feel that the energy the males get from sex from them should contribute to his emotional and intellectual well-being. They require emotional security and positive comments. Okay, type 2, innovator sexuality. This is birthday between May 13th and July 3rd. Sex tends to be based upon their changeable moods. Oh, God, yes. If I'm not mistaken, these are Virgos and Scorpios. Okay. They don't have fixed sexual positions or foreplay styles. They are sexually spontaneous and will attempt offbeat sexual maneuvers and eroticism. He right. From personal experience, he right. Okay, now that's primarily males. Female innovators. These females tend to use a nurturing approach to sex. They prefer sexual partners that encourage her to explore sex technique. They like males that are sure of their ability to sexually please her. Sexual servitude to her sex needs excite her to be more erotic. That sounds like master-slave type stuff to me, but who am I? Male innovators tend to use a nurturing approach to sex also. They have a vivid sexual imagination and don't like limitations set on their sexual contact. Innovators seek to be involved in the emotional temperature. Innovators seem to be involved in the emotional temperature of the female's sexism. Okay. Type 3. This is birthday between July 4th and August 24th. Leaders have an emotional, explosive sexual nature and like to be sexually in charge. The females are sexually charismatic, charming, and flirtatious. Remember that girl at the event? They tend to be slightly rough and yet gentle in sexual position and activities. They are sexually assertive and make sex into a battle of ego satisfaction. Yeah, that sounds like her. Male leaders. Males like to dominate sexual intercourse activities and position. They prefer sex positions that have them in control. These males can be aroused by associating mysticism with sex rather than physical lust. That sounds like I'm kind of bent in that direction to a degree. Okay. Type 4, the idealist sexuality. These are birth dates between August 25th and October 15th. They are emotionally withdrawn with their sexuality and mentally pretend to teach and preach about sex while engaging in sexual intercourse. The females tend to be romantic and have a nurturing sexual mannerism. They seem to hold back their sexual nature and submit to the sexual maneuvers of the male. Males tend to have a nurturing mannerism towards sex. They desire the sex to be surrounded by romanticism and flirtation. That sounds like me too. They tend to feel good about themselves if they think their previous sex was rewarding. I do. Okay. Type 5, organizer sexuality. Ooh boy. Birth date between October 16th and December the 6th. They tend to connect seemingly irrelevant and disconnected body movements and activities with sex. Ooh wee. These females tend to be sensual and enjoy erotic sexual gestures and foreplay. They tend to begin sex with very simple movements, but as their passion increases, they demand more complex positions and series of foreplay and petting. Males are chauvinistic about sex and must feel like the hunter capturing a prey. They tend to have difficulty exposing their true sexual desires to females. This sounds like most pink males. He tends to want females to use their sexuality to challenge or confront him rather than their mentality. Physical. They approach sex either hot or cold because they do not trust sex to fulfill them. Yep, most pink males. Type 6, counselor sexuality. Am I done? Yeah, okay. They tend to have sex on a spiritual, healing, emotional, entertaining, or therapeutic level. Yeah. Right. Okay. Female counselors. These females are sensual about sex and are not aware of when they are flirting or their partner is flirting. They enjoy romance but deny enjoying it. During sex, they emotionally give all or none or partially of their passion and yet expect their partner to always give totally. I know too many females like that. Male counselors. Males tend to accent sexual creativity. If it is difficult to figure out how to sexually satisfy the female, they will pretend that they can selfishly be satisfied when they are not satisfied. No, I ain't there. Sex tends to be an artistic and spiritual activity. Yeah, it is. They have sex moods and don't like them interrupted with sexual intercourse. Wait a minute, let me say that again, because that don't make no damn sense. They have sex moods and don't like them interrupted with sexual intercourse. Now I'm looking at everybody's face in the room, and everybody's face in the room is going, come again?
Somebody that likes to entice but don't want to be touched.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
But they have a sexual mood. That's what this first statement started out. They have a sexual mood. You're in a sexual mood, but you don't want sexual activity. Now, I don't know, y'all. It may just be me, but that sounds pink as hell to me.
Yeah.
That sounds like denying who and what you are.
Yeah.
That sounds pink as hell. Okay, type 7, visionary sexuality. This is a birth date between January 28th and March 2nd. Visionaries are fixed in their sexual wants, moods, and needs. They tend to enjoy sexual spirituality. Sex tends to begin in an emotional, systematic way with step-by-step arousal, and then it becomes physically exciting. I don't mind that. That sounds pretty damn good to me. Female visionaries. Females tend to evaluate whether they should engage in sex on the correctness of the morals and spirituality of the male. That sounds like what pink females have been taught to do. evaluate whether they should engage in sex. They have a vision about sex and deep, sensual, passionate desires, but tend to withhold fulfilling their sexual appetite. It sounds like pink females. It sounds just like them. One of the things we're going to get into in just a second. I'll just wait. I'll just wait until we get to it. Male visionary. Visionaries approach sex in a nurturing manner. That ain't pink males. They tend to place morals and ethics or the rules of sex above their own physical sexual pleasures. Yeah, now it's starting to sound more like that. They tend to be critical of female sexual comments, tastes, and desires. All of this sounds like pink males to me. It sounds like their whole history. It sounds like the Puritanness. It sounds like the Quakers. It sounds like all of these particular religious modes that pink people have created that totally and completely disregard sexuality. Duh. Okay. They tend to feel following sexual rules means the same as getting sexually satisfied. They do not like to take chances with new sexual positions or activities. That sounds like pink males. It is not pink females. Believe me. Personal experience. Pink females are really experimental. They are excited by doing stuff they have never done before. They've only seen in books. Yeah, believe me. I sound like line 45 now, don't I? Believe me. Okay. In mating, there are specific laws for sexual intercourse. In nature, all species have particular behaviors and rituals that revolve around mating. All animals, insects, and plants follow mating laws except the Caucasian race and those races that follow Caucasian cultural sex behaviors. I'm reading from the book. Following Caucasian non-cyclic sexual rituals and ceremonies is the primary reason why human beings have the highest reproductive failure rate of all animals. Now, let's explore that just a little bit. Pink people are dying, and they realize it. And that's why Line 45 was elected president, and that's why a whole lot of other things are going down, because pink people are dying. My wife and I watched a video called Who's Killing White Males? The answer was white males. It talked about the high rate of suicide in pink males age, I think it was 34 to 65. Just to give you a view of what this is like, the homicide rate for pink males in a year, the homicide number, the number of killed by homicide is 21,000 some odd hundred. The rate of suicide by these same people per year, the number, I'm sorry, not the rate, the number, is 46,000. So more than twice the number kill themselves as are killed by others. That's one. Their birth rate has gone down to less than 1. When your birth rate goes down to less than 1, that means your numbers are falling. Because for every one that is born, more than one dies. That is the present situation, and it's been going like that for about the past 50 years. Their birth rate has been decreasing. Elkebulanese and Hispanic birth rate has been doing like it's always done. We don't die, we multiply. And that's where all this fear, all this pink fear comes from that Line 45 is using to his advantage. Last but not least, okay, that's number 2. Last but not least, pink males are losing in the battle for sex. Because one of the characteristics of millennial generation is They having sex with anybody. They're not stuck on race or culture or even sex. No, because we have more pansexuals, homosexuals, and other sexualities in the pink race right now than has ever existed. And as a result, they are finding other than pink males to have children by. They are having children by Elkebulanese. They are having children by Hispanics. They are having children by Orientals. And one of the things about any recessive trait or characteristic, and being pink is recessive, is when you mix it with anything else, what comes out is the anything else. It's not the recessive. And when you mix pink with Elkebulanese, it comes out Elkebulanese. When you mix pink with Hispanic, it comes out Hispanic. When you mix pink with Oriental, it comes out Oriental. The only way you can come out with pink is you mix pink with pink. Unfortunately, that is being done less and less and less. And as a result, their race is dying, as it has been for about the last 150 years. Nature is killing them. Nature has to kill them. They're destroying nature. Okay. Sex is the political and social language of a culture. Mating, petting, intercourse position, and erotic areas of the body are culturally specific. Sex should reinforce the culture and spiritual elements and elevate the individual. Sex should be based upon ma'at, principles of rewards and punishment. And this is something that I did not know before now. Well, I think I had. Yeah, I did know it. I just hadn't learned it. The natural rhythm of the body indicates that between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., there's an increase in the body temperature, depth of respiration, taste bud sensitivity, hearing and seeing activity, responses, respiration, eye blinks, pulse, etc. The peak physical performance time for the human body is reached during the day hours, not the night hours. Now, I'm looking at my wife who's sitting over there grinning because I told her this years ago, and that the best time for me to have sex was first thing in the morning.
Yes.
The best time for me to have sex is just these hours, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Now, again, I never learned that. I just knew it. My spirit told me that. And I told my wife when we first met, having a full day, doing a full day's work, coming at home at night and having sex, that don't make good sense to me. Having a full night's rest, and I don't mean sleep, I mean rest. Waking up in the morning refreshed and to the newness of the day, and having sex, ooh, woo, 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 woo. You talk about start your day off with a blast.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now. That's what everybody wants to try to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Caucasians think unlike any other human being on the planet. And the way they think is always disabling. Okay. The influence of the moon upon rituals, ceremonies, customs, physical activity, habits, and emotions is a cultural learned response. The cosmic force acts upon the moon. The moon is reacting to a force and not the originator of that force or energy. The moon is not proactive but reactive, and it reacts to this force cyclically. Africans can absorb and radiate the Earth, lunar, solar, and galaxy cycles that are harmonized by their high melanin bodily content. Caucasians, I don't like him using the word Caucasian simply because I'm not used to them. I just say what they are. Pink people's melanin albinism allows them to only feel the Earth and moon cycles. They believe that a ball of dirt called the moon is more powerful than the holistic forces that moved the moon and it created the moon. Don't make no sense to me, but most of the things that they do don't make no sense. Not to even them. Again, that's one of the reasons why they enforce ignorance. Because unless you were ignorant, you would realize that most of the logic, reason, and other things that they use to come up with reasons to do stuff make no sense. It is the work of ignorant people, but that's who they've always been. Okay, last but not least. Yeah, let me turn that back. Okay, in a natural holistic state, the periodic mating season occurred according to a solar rather than lunar periods. The sun cycle influenced people to have sexual intercourse once a year during springtime in monogamous and polygamous cultures. Among the polygamous, one wife, several husbands, Eskimos, what did it say? Eskimos. The solar sun cycle of reproduction was quite evident until 1940. What happened in 1940? They started having, and this is going to sound strange, I better not use it. I was going to say intercourse, but they started having interactions with pink people about 1940. And as they have done every place they have been, pink people influence the people who are indigenous to that region to stop doing what they have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years and to start doing what pink people have been doing for 2,000 years. The most ignorant people on the planet has forced all of the rest of the planet to follow their ignorance. Again, we're here to help them. Sexuality helps humanity. Sexuality is a necessary ingredient to all human beings. And unless you understand not just the necessity of this portion of your being, but its proper operation for your benefit, you are missing out on your humanness. If you are very well trained, and that's what I call people who have degrees from pink institutions, and HBCUs are pink institutions, don't be fooled. You're going to have some problems if you follow what they are doing. And just like them, most of your sexuality will be unsatisfying, unenabling, and to the largest degree, inhuman. We have been taught sex is a physical act. The oldest profession in the world, prostitution, is one that uses the physicalness of sex as an end-all be-all. That's what you're here for. You're not here for emotional support. You're not here for spiritual elevation. You're here to get your nut and get the hell out of Dodge. Ha ha! But since my earliest days, I have been very, 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 very close to prostitutes. When I was 5 years old, I started school at Field School in St. Louis, Missouri, which was on Olive, right off of Taylor. One building from the corner. In order to get to Field School, I had to walk down Taylor, because I lived at Enright and Taylor. I had to come out the street, be on Enright and Taylor, walk down Taylor, to Delmar, cross Delmar, to Washington, cross Washington, and the next street was Olive. But at Washington and Taylor was a section of the city called the Hostro. And this is where the prostitutes were. Prostitutes forever were walking up and down there. These were the people I saw every morning and every evening. These were the folks who gave me candy, who gave me gifts, who asked about, hey, Lou Woods, how you doing? I got to know them as good people. The primary customer of El-Kebulanese prostitutes are pink males from 18 to 65. El-Kebulanese males don't usually utilize prostitutes, and when they do, it's not El-Kebulanese prostitutes. They use pink or oriental or something else. But the point being that pink males have been taught just the physical aspects of sexuality is all you need. So they go to prostitutes continuously. And they are the ones that have made it the oldest profession in the world, because that profession is completely absent in El-Kebulan. Completely. But, and this is the big but again, prostitutes understand what I have been teaching you. Prostitutes understand the importance of the spiritual and emotional aspects of sexuality. That's why when the customer, commonly called a John, is getting ready for sexuality, they are describing to them all the things that they're going to do and all how good it's going to be and so forth and so on, preparing them emotionally and spiritually. While they get into the sexual act, the prostitute is telling them all sorts of wonderful, enabling things. Oh, you're so big. Oh, my God, that feels so good. Oh, you do it, Big Daddy. Do it, Big Daddy. Oh, yeah, make Mama do. Oh, because they understand what I've been teaching you. They understand that their money depends on you having a good experience. And a good experience depends on them doing what is necessary to make that experience not just satisfying, extremely satisfying. Are you going to ever pay a prostitute who doesn't give you extreme satisfaction? Not more than once. Why would you? Unless you've been trained like a pink man to figure that that's all there is. You nut and you go. That's not the life that most of us want to live. That's not the experience that most of us want to have. And as a result, that is not the sex we want to engage in. We want to engage in trivalent sexuality that has spirit, mind, and body cohesively combined to make the experience not mind-blowing, but spiritually enabling. You know that nut you talk about in that still now right now with your guys and your girls? That one. That was a trivalent nut. That was the one that had the emotional support, the spiritual imagery, and the physical preparation and after sex resonance that made it memorable. It can be like that. It should be like that every time. And I'm going to take a liberty. I just asked the Most High, and the Most High said, yeah. I'm going to take the liberty of telling you, almost every time I have sex with my wife, it's the best sex we've ever had. I mean that. Every time.
Yes.
Every time. It is the best sex we have ever had. Period. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, I think that's the end of the class, except having your body, your mind, and your spirit liberated gives you an insight into something that we usually do not have any image of. And that is what happens on the other side of freeing these aspects of your being. Global Entertainment and Henny Hen, the voice of choice, have a song that describes that. We have one more class left in this class. Right about now, you should be just able to visualize what this song talks about, the other side of freedom. Till then, Peace, which stands for proper education always corrects error.
As I begin my journey home, I travel down this lonely road. And when I think of all I've seen, my spirit starts to bother me. Now I don't know who to try. And when I felt like giving up, the light at the end of the tunnel just gets brighter and brighter. 'Cause I'm free. 'Cause I'm free. Free from oppression. Yeah. You may have my body, but you cannot control my soul. 'Cause I'm free. You can't harm me no more. You must let me go. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Now I'm living for a brighter tomorrow. Yeah. I'm finally free. I'm on my feet to do what I want, to be who I please, and that's to be me. And it's worry-free. Yeah, it's worry-free. 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 Check. I was rolling down the street and I'm hearing no sirens, no hatred, just peace. 'Cause where I'm from, you see, the police beat on the ones that look like me. And now I'm happy to be finally free from this brutality that's put out me. Now we're finally free. Finally. 'Cause I'm free. Free from oppression. Yeah. You may have my body, but you cannot control my soul. 'Cause I'm free. You can't harm me no more. You must let me go. Finally, the day has come, one I've been waiting for, one I've been dreaming about. I'm walking through that open door. I'm starting to smell the fresh air, the leaves blowing in the breeze. I wanna go down and kiss the ground and let them see me on my knees.
Man, my body feel kinda heavy and my spirit done left this place. Keeping me captive in your prison, you can't take my time and space. Take this journey while I'm with you, and I promise we gon' fly. Take my hand and stay together, 'cause we on the other side. Talking the other side of freedom, can't you hear me when I soar? Got the wind beneath my wings, now can't you hear me when I roar? Screaming freedom.